Welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights. I'm Patrick Tsang, a local Hong Kong businessman, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. Today, we're very pleased to have the CEO of the Women's Foundation, Ms Fiona Nott, joining us. As a former lawyer and Hang Seng Index company secretary, Fiona has lived in Hong Kong for nearly 2 decades, working as a senior legal professional and advisor to several leading corporates in Hong Kong and around Asia. With her original passion for social equality, particularly improving the lives of women and girls in Hong Kong, Fiona joined the Women's Foundation as CEO in 2017 and is drawing on the full spectrum of her legal career in her current role. Fiona, welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights.
Thanks, Patrick. I'm delighted to be here.
So Fiona, some of our audience may not have a deep understanding of the Women's Foundation. Would you like to introduce a bit the organization and share your thoughts around what you're focusing on?
Sure. The Women's Foundation is a non-profit organization dedicated to improving the lives of women and girls here in Hong Kong. We have 3 primary objectives. First, challenging gender stereotypes. Second, empowering women in poverty. And the third is to advance women leaders. And we do that through groundbreaking research, innovative and impactful community programs, education and advocacy. We really work from the classroom right up to the boardroom, taking an ecosystem approach where we work with individuals, corporates, academia, government and schools to really drive change for Hong Kong.
Looking back at your career, and you've certainly experienced many different situations, right, concerning gender inequality. Was there one that is particularly thought-provoking, and how did you tackle the situation, and what would you do differently if it happened again today?
In business, often I was the only woman in the room actually, in whether that's board meetings, business negotiations, industry events. Being the only woman in the room, often I would have assumptions about my gender. I would be asked to make cups of tea for colleagues, or people would say, "Whoa, you don't look like a company secretary." And really it was just about my gender. So the way I dealt with that was really to seek out mentors. That was mentors through my peers, through more senior women and senior men, to really help and support my career. I think what's different now, things are changing. Things have changed, which is fantastic. There's more structured mentoring programs. There's more structured sponsorship programs. There's more of this sort of support around diversity, equity, inclusion in business. So I certainly would be taking up those opportunities more and having more of those conversations, because I think the context of the environment has really changed for the better.
We all know Hong Kong has taken decades to improve gender inequality in the workplace, and we are all proud to see more female business leaders among large corporations. The Hong Kong Stock Exchange, for example, has also mandated that all listed companies have at least 1 female board director by January 2025. What do you think each party, government, businesses, communities can do to further improve gender equality in the workplace?
We are still at only 19% women on Hang Seng Index boards, but we are going to see more change in the future, because we are still behind markets like Singapore, the UK and the US. So I think this is an opportunity, for a pivotal moment for business to really go further. We should be aiming for 50% women on boards. We should be setting targets next of 30%. And businesses can then look at, well, what's happening in my workforce? How can I set targets for that female representation across the workforce? And then it's implementing things like sponsorship programs, mentorship programs, looking at aspects like flexible work, gender neutral parental leave, and flex work to enable men and women to take up those opportunities. And it's also a good opportunity to go even a bit more deeper, because there's not one size fits all to DE&I. It's relevant to the industry, the company, but also individuals and challenges that mature women might be facing as they're older, ethnic minority women with a different sexual orientation. And those nuances can be explored to really support inclusion within the company. Let's talk about government and the macro, because while we're seeing some great developments in business, we do have some structural challenges in Hong Kong. And one thing we're quite concerned about is the low female workforce participation rate in Hong Kong. We're only at 48%, whereas Singapore, Australia, mainland China are all over 60. So it means there's a lot of women not participating in the formal economy.
What caused that?
A lot of this is around caring responsibilities and gender stereotypes that really say that the woman's role is really in the home and the man is at work. And so there's a few of these real structural issues in Hong Kong. A study from the Labour and Welfare Bureau commissioned with women in their 40s and 50s from low income and ethnic minority backgrounds found that a third of them want to contribute to the workforce, but they can't find part-time jobs or flex jobs that support their caregiving responsibilities. Also, a study from the Equal Opportunities Commission in Hong Kong found that more than 50% of employers in Hong Kong will not hire women with children. It's quite a staggering statistic. So I think government has a role to play. I know the government is very aware of this and starting programs and initiatives. So we need to all work together to make this
Which
happen.
would be a nice segue to my next question. As a businessman, as a husband and director of many corporations in Hong Kong, I've been thinking about how to contribute more to women's empowerment in the workplace. Fiona, do you have any insights or tips that you can share with me?
Great question. Well, I think the first thing is your commitment, and even asking that question is fantastic. That's you making that commitment, and the tone from the top, from business leaders and directors, is incredibly important. So that's the first thing, and I congratulate you on that. A few tips: you can spend some time understanding women's experience, really getting them to share maybe some of the challenges that they're facing at work. You could sponsor women, you could mentor women, you could start looking at some of the policies in organizations and fostering that sort of culture, within an organization of sharing and learning about each other. And in fact, we do have a Male Allies program at the Women's Foundation. We've had over 800 men and women go through that program, and these are business leaders who are committed to advancing gender equality in their organizations and their spheres of influence across Hong Kong. So they come onto our program and they learn and are inspired, and then they go back to their organizations. They change policies, they mentor, they leave the office early when they have caring responsibilities. These are all great ways to engage. And in fact, we're now taking that concept to the next generation. We've built a Young Allies program for university-age young men to really help them understand the impact of gender stereotypes and to set them up as inclusive leaders and champions of the future.
I definitely agree with you that to effectively promote women empowerment, we should target the young generation as they are our future leaders. Our team also dedicates our time to working with and coaching underserved teenagers. The key challenge we encounter sometimes is to encourage them to challenge their own limitations and to think outside the box. Do you see similar situations in your own work, and what can we do to support their growth?
Yes, we do, and I think it's great you're doing those initiatives, because I think individuals and business really have a great role to play to support that next generation. But we do see that, and particularly around our work to close the gender gap in STEM, and that's around science, technology, engineering and mathematics. From our research, we've found that boys are 4 times more likely than girls to take those subjects and careers. So we're really seeing that gender gap around those subjects, and a lot of that relates to the stereotypes and the messaging that girls are receiving from society, from home, even from teachers, that these are subjects that boys are better at. These are boys' subjects, and these other subjects are for girls. And so that's a mindset that we want to overcome. And so to do that, we show them different experiences. We try and take them outside the box in that sense and show them different experiences. For example, we'll take them to Disney. They'll meet female role models who are engineers. They'll get to see how that technology and engineering works behind the scenes. So that can really inspire their thinking. So these are the types of things that we endeavour to do on our program, because we're trying to get them to think outside the box, which is the standard societal message that this is something that's not for girls, which is just not true. And we're seeing impact from that, which is fantastic. And some of our girls now from that program are starting to go to university and take STEM subjects, and we couldn't be more proud.
So Fiona, I understand you are keen to support the personal development of a younger generation. Can you tell me more about what the Women's Foundation is doing in particular to help marginalized young women in Hong Kong?
Absolutely. We have a key aim to support underprivileged girls in Hong Kong. One of our key initiatives is our Girls Go Tech program, where we're developing young girls' interests, self-efficacy and confidence around STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths, to really set them up for the jobs of the future. Another initiative we have is a tutoring and mentoring initiative for underprivileged girls paired with business leaders, and that we've seen incredible impact in supporting the self-confidence and learning journeys of girls.
That's great. If I may take this opportunity to introduce you to someone, this is Cressida Mack from Hong Kong University.
Hi Cressida,
Yes,
lovely to meet you.
Nice meeting you. I'm particularly interested in understanding the complex dynamics of gender inequality and how it impacts our life in general. So as a woman, I've also experienced gender inequality and prejudice due to my drive to be successful. So I'm wondering, how should I develop my skill sets in order to overcome this discrimination?
The first thing I'd say is realizing you're not alone, right? You have a community around you of women and men that can support you on your leadership journey. And so one of the key things you can think about is reaching out to and having a formal mentor, right? That can really share experiences with you, and someone who's been through that journey, who can then bounce ideas off and really work with you on some of those challenges. And I would say always speak up for yourself, advocate for what you want in business. Take up those learning opportunities. And if you ever feel uncertain about that, I think the mentoring in that community can really be a fantastic support for you.
Thank you for your time and your inspiring words.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back to Friday Beyond Spotlights. We have with us today Fiona Nott, CEO of the Women's Foundation. Who is Fiona behind the spotlights? In this show and tell segment, Fiona will show us an item that has special meaning or significance to her and help shape who she is today. Fiona, could you show us the item that has special meaning for you?
Sure. What I have with me here is a quote from the late Supreme Court Justice in the United States, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This quote is, "Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that leads others to join you."
Wow, so this is very special.
Yeah, we have this in our office at the Women's Foundation because this is something that really inspires me. Throughout my career, I've had a passion for children's literacy and women's empowerment. And when I look at this quote, it reminds me of really fight for the things that we care about, but do it in a way where we're learning from others, where we're learning from the listening to others, experiencing all that diversity of others. And when we come together, change is really unstoppable. So this for me really inspires me sometimes when challenges are hard or we think we're not making change quick enough, that actually when we bring everyone along together, we can spark incremental change, and then that then becomes transformative change for society.
Why Ruth Ginsburg? Can you tell us more about her or why she inspired you?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg deeply has inspired me my whole adult life, really. She is one of the few women to go to Harvard Law School. I think in her class she was one of 9 women with over 500 men. She really is a trailblazer. She faced such unconscious bias, discrimination at that period, and then she really led so much societal change with a lot of difficulties along the way. And I think the interesting thing about Ruth is she, further to this quote, she had great relationships with people that she didn't agree with or didn't agree with her necessarily. They would fight it out around an issue, but they had fantastic relationships where they could either find common ground and really respect each other to come together to support society.
So it's important to have dialogue, even if you don't agree on everything.
I think so, absolutely.
Fiona, in your journey in advocating for gender equality and women's empowerment, you must have experienced challenges, right? Have you ever thought of giving up or that this is too difficult? How do you overcome it?
It's a great question, and I think sometimes you have those moments and you have those thoughts. It's hard. And when we look at how far we are away from gender equality, I think we're in this region, we're over 130 years away from achieving gender equality. That's it. That's huge. And so when you see that stat and you think, this is just hard. I'm not seeing change quick enough. But then what I do is take inspiration from quotes like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and take a step back and look at the change that's happened just over the last 5 years, for example. And when you have a bit more of that perspective, you know, it's incredible. If I look at the change that's happening for the end of single gender boards, that's huge. That's something that we worked on for over 10 years. And that's thanks to so many individuals just showing up every day to advocate. And so when you have that perspective, that really inspires me. And then when I see individuals and their transformation, when I see participants on our Girls Go Tech program, our participant who joined us in year 3 was not interested in STEM, was not confident around it, how she persisted through our program, and now she's at university studying ICT, and that's transformational for her. When I see our male allies come to our program and then they go out into the community, they're on panels speaking to other business leaders, making changes in their company, it's incredible. All marginalised women who do a digital workshop with us and are then inspired to create their own business or engage more in their relationships. So those individual changes that people are making really inspires me.
If there's one change that you could make in society right away to make Hong Kong more DEI friendly, what would that be?
I think that would be men taking up parental leave. So gender neutral parental leave and more men taking up that opportunity. That will be a game changer for women and for men, because that will empower more women to be able to take up the leave, but also more men as well. So the stigma for men to take up parental leave is actually almost bigger than for women. So once we have more of that happening, we're starting to really change the dialogue that's supportive for all genders.
If you look back at your own career path or education journey, right? Are there any differences, the treatment or inequality that you've witnessed when you're in university, when you're in law school versus when you were working?
You know, looking back on childhood, school and university, I didn't directly experience any discrimination, but now I look back on it, there certainly was that unconscious bias that, you know, at school we had home economics that all the girls would do, and then woodwork and, you know, metalwork was all the boys, and so it was unusual if a girl wanted to do woodwork or metalwork, or a boy wanted to do sort of this homemaker piece. So those gender stereotypes were definitely absolutely there, and I wanted to do law. I wanted to understand the world. I wanted to contribute.
You wanted to make changes.
Yeah, and I think that was certainly, you know, a bit of messaging that, you know, maybe you could do something that's a bit more family friendly or this kind of messaging. But that was something I was really ambitious about, and I'm really delighted that my parents supported me in that. And then I think once at university, at law school, there's a lot of women, there's a lot of debate at university. I think anyone who's been to university... You know,
supportive professors or...?
Yeah, pretty supportive professors. And I got engaged in you know, student politics, and we were doing a lot of discussions for students. And I think students are sort of debating gender equality along with other issues. So that really opened my eyes. But I think then when I went into the business world, that's when the differences started to show up. And I think, you know, when you start working in the law, you suddenly realise, well, hang on, together with some other junior female lawyers, we're hearing that the male lawyers are getting paid more than us, right? That, you know, the talk goes around the office around bonuses or pay or whatever, and or how is it happening that we're not getting the assignments, the visible assignments that they are? So it was a really sort of what is happening here, and that's when it sort of became apparent that there's a slight differential perhaps in the workplace. And so that's when I got together with some other female lawyers, and we said, we have to strategize around this. How do we support each other? Which we did through informal mentoring. And my dream was to go on to comment to work with a client. And I really wanted to go outside of, I was in Australia at the time, outside of Australia. So my peers said, okay, you're going to have to go and talk to the managing partner, and you're going to have to put your case. And I was really scared to do that. I was terrified.
But you did it.
But with their support, I did it. So I went and saw the managing partner, who, you know, tough conversation. Why should you go, and et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, oh, that didn't go well. But literally the next week, he rang me and said, you want to go on secondment? Can you go to Hong Kong? Go on Thursday. Tell us tomorrow. Are you up for it? It could be 6 months, 9 months. a year, we don't know. And that was an incredible opportunity, and I'm still here in Hong Kong, so it's amazing. So thanks to that support from the, my peers and network, I had the courage to do that, and I was given that opportunity.
So you've fought your battle with courage, and you got support from your peers, as well as, I guess, senior management.
Exactly,
and
exactly.
that led to a beautiful relationship with Hong Kong.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we come to the rapid fire segment where we get up close and personal with our guest. Fiona, we are going to ask you some questions. Just give us the answer that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Who was your favorite women leader?
Laura Cha.
What is your favorite comfort food?
Noodles.
Favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby? Reading.
What was the last thing you searched online?
I searched how to make dun dun noodles.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Sesame.
Favorite dim sum?
Ha Gao.
Who do you admire most?
Laura Cha and Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Favorite place in Hong Kong?
Shek O Beach.
Favorite place to travel to?
India.
Your first job?
I was a supermarket packer at the age of 15.
Describe yourself in one word.
Optimistic.
Any hidden talent we should know about?
I can speak Italian.
What is a talent that you wish you had?
I wish I was a good singer.
If you can change one thing about yourself, what would that be?
That I could speak fluent Cantonese.
Your proudest moment?
When my protege on the Women's Foundation mentoring program left her business career and became a successful female entrepreneur.
Fantastic. Nicest thing someone has said to you?
Take your time. I'm not in a rush.
Title of your autobiography?
Believing in possibility.
Qualities you admire most about your parents?
Curiosity and encouraging me to believe in myself.
Your biggest fear, Fiona?
Living with regret.
Any misconceptions about you?
That I speak no Cantonese.
Advice to your younger self?
Say yes to every opportunity.
What legacy do you wish to leave behind?
To encourage people to recognize that we each have a role to play and a capacity to lead change.
If you can have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would that be?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Wonderful. So, describe Hong Kong in one word.
Invigorating.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you for joining us on Friday Beyond Spotlights. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us on this third season of Friday Beyond Spotlight.
We are grateful for your support.
See you next season.